And Billboard's #1 R&B single of 1993 goes to Miss Whitney Houston.
Yes, Jesus loved me. We begin with Amy Powell live at the Beverly Hilton with details on Houston's death.
I'll give you big hugs. Big hugs.
Whitney Houston was once considered one of the greatest voices in pop music. In recent years, her music career was overshadowed by drug problems.
Not a person who wants to die, not a person who has life and wants to live.
Beverly Hills police say they received a 911 call at 3:43 this afternoon.
Thank you so much.
The #1 soundtrack album, Whitney Houston.
Oh, I love you, Whitney.
Oh, I love you back, darling.
I want to get Benjamin in here. This is Benjamin. He's very cute. Okay, and we're good. Hello, my loves. It's Salita, and welcome back to my channel, or not. I feel like saying welcome back to my channel is like super uninclusive, because what if someone's coming that isn't coming back? What if they're new? So just welcome in general. Today I'm starting a series that I'm really excited about, that I've wanted to start for a very long time. Welcome to Chatty Lita, which is where we chat and we talk about what's all that. Basically, I'll just be covering a bunch of different topics here. Today's video is going to be about the rise and fall of Miss Whitney Houston. I absolutely love and adore this woman, and I have ever since I was very young. I really wanted to kind of just look over her life and really see how she got to the point she did when she passed away. I have literally 11.5 pages of notes that we're gonna be looking into, so it's gonna be a long video. I have my sparkling water, which, you know, it's weird. I didn't like sparkling water at first, and then I started trying to force myself to like it, and now I actually like it, which is really weird. A lot of people call it TV static, and at first I was like, yeah, like, it's booty, like, I don't like it, but I'm really getting into it now, and this is my last can of it, and I'm really sad because I gotta go buy some more. But anyway, so off topic. Let me fix this hoodie so I look like I have a neck. One of my closest friends, I sent her a thumbnail from another video, like an option, and she was like,
you look like you don't have a neck.
I was like, she's right. There. Okay. Whitney Elizabeth Houston was born on August 9th, 1963 to Sissy and John Houston, her parents, and her brothers Michael and Gary. She was a very, very cute little girl. Like, I'm a nanny, so I've seen a lot of babies, but she was like Gerber baby, commercial baby status. She was so adorable. At a very young age, she was beginning to be known as Nippy. I believe the nickname came from her father. And so if you do hear me saying like Nippy, so Whitney, the name just doesn't get so repetitive, I'm talking about her. Nippy was very outgoing, very sassy, very much so expressive around her family and the people that she was close to, but when it came to her actual people at school and like friends and stuff like that, she was a little more shy until you really got to know her. She was unfortunately very picked on a lot, the reason being that in the area she was in, there was a lot of more darker skinned people, and since Whitney was lighter, they got on her and bullied her a lot for that, and it really got to her, and she was just really sad about it. But she was extremely close to her brother, so she was definitely like a homebody and just loved her family a lot. Her family was her world, just everything to her, even starting from a very young age. As you'll see going into her later years, she really loved and valued her family. Now, Whitney was raised in the church, and I did mention earlier that her mother's name was Sissy Houston, and if you don't know who that is, Sissy was already a very big name in the gospel industry, so she was very well known for that. So she obviously was going to push her daughter kind of to do the same. So Whitney became very known in her church circle, and she was the little girl with the big voice because she was very tiny and she was very slim, but her voice was just insane for how young she was. By 13, she knew she wanted to be a professional singer, and her mother really helped her with that. Since her mom was already so big, her mom knew the industry, so she knew everything that Whitney was gonna have to go through. Whitney's cousin is also Dionne Warwick, which if you guys don't know that name, she's another really big name in soulful singing. She like came from a family of singers, so it was kind of just bound to happen. In her younger teen years, around like between like 15 and like 17ish, Whitney did a lot of modeling, and she was actually one of the first African-American females to be on the front of 17 magazine, which is like like that's huge. She loved modeling, it was fun and all, but she didn't love it like she loved music. Her family looked into it, pulled some strings, blah 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 blah, and then eventually at the age of 19, Whitney was signed to, I believe I'm saying this right, Arista Records, might be wrong, but I think it's pronounced Arista. She was signed there at 19 with the guidance of Clive Davis. So we've said a lot about her childhood, and now we are moving into Whitney's rise to fame. Now when this woman blew up, it all happened really fast, and it just kept like gradually happening. Like, I can't really explain it. You'll see that she grows a lot, but then she grows even more later, and it's just, it was definitely icon behavior, okay? She just grew and grew and grew and grew. So I'm gonna be looking over to the side a little bit when I say this because I want to get the exact dates right. Whitney's first TV appearance was in 1983. She sang, I believe, a song called Home. It's very, very pretty. I'll insert like a little clip here. Her actual first album was released on Valentine's Day of 1985. It did not do too well in the beginning. Everyone on her team and, you know, Whitney herself, they were all a little bit concerned because they were like, okay, like this isn't doing the numbers we had hoped. But in the summer, it just blew up and skyrocketed, and she definitely got all of the results that she had been hoping for from this album. Whitney was beautiful, she was charismatic, she was funny, she was sophisticated, she had the sass. She was perfect. Everyone was in love with her. There really just wasn't anything to not like about her. Within only 2 years of her album release, she had already won 15 awards, which is like insane. And one of those awards was a Grammy, and as you know, people work hard their whole lives to win a Grammy, let alone winning one in the first 2 years of their career. That's like, go girl, go.
Oh my goodness.
Whitney already, yet again within these 2 years, had more #1 hits than both Elvis and the Beatles, and like, yet again, girl was just doing her thing. Like, go ahead, Miss Queen, because eating the boys up, eating the girls up. She quickly held the most popular debut album like title ever in female history, which she still does hold to this day. No one has topped it still. They can try, but they won't succeed. And in 1991, she met Mr. Michael Jackson, aka the King of Pop, which is a whole other video. But she met him, and imagine meeting Michael Jackson when you've only been famous for like a few years, 4 or 5 years. Like, I just want to really elaborate here. Like, she was the stuff. It was insane just how much she accomplished in such a short period of time. I knew that she was big, but when I researched for this video, I was just completely mind blown of how much she really did.
Okay, basically from here on out, it gets really out of focus, and I'm so sorry about that. I am still working with like getting to know my camera. It doesn't have autofocus without making this really loud like sound, and it's really annoying because it's like an expensive like Canon camera. So I'm trying to make that work. I'm so sorry that this is so out of focus. Like, I truly apologize. Hopefully you guys can look over that and pay attention to the pictures and like the information. But I'm so sorry, and I promise in my next video I'll do like my best to try to figure out how to work with the focus better.
Now, with growth comes access in Hollywood and in the music industry, and Whitney obviously had a lot of it. But thankfully she had one person in her life who was very special to keep her on track, and that person was one of her closest friends, Robin Crawford. Robin always kept Whitney's head on straight, and Whitney met her when she was 16 at a summer job. Whitney just thought that Robin was absolutely beautiful. She just called her tall with this like kind of overpowering but just sweet demeanor and physique, and she just loved her, and they just clicked, and they were pretty much inseparable. Whitney actually moved out of her house at 18, and she moved in with Robin, so like they were like two peas in a pod. This topic gets a little bit sticky, a little bit hairy-carry, because we don't have solid evidence of this, but we have enough. Robin has confirmed it, multiple people on Whitney's team have confirmed it, multiple people in Whitney's family has confirmed it, but basically there was a pretty big thing saying that Whitney and Robin had something romantic going on. This was just kind of like a known like fact, I think, for a while, and people just kind of didn't talk about it. And there is a lot of evidence to point towards this, and one thing is that Whitney's brother Gary is just like a really homophobic man, and when he originally was asked about Robin, he said that what they had going on was evil, wicked, and vile, which I mean, I feel like that says enough. You're not gonna say that about someone who has no relationship going with someone. You know what I mean? The homophobia really jumped out, so I feel like that alone is like evidence by itself. As well as Whitney's husband, which you'll hear way down the line, Bobby Brown, saying that he had some jealousy and some things going on where he didn't like Robin and it caused big problems later in the future. So there was just a lot that proved that this was kind of real. And then Robin also did write a book, which I'm not going to get into, but she did write a book called A Song for You that really looked deep into what she and Whitney had.
Hi besties, editing me here. I would just like to say that I want to make sure all my facts are like straight. Don't believe Bobby Brown ever admitted to jealousy of Robin. You'll see later in the video, he wasn't really the type to admit stuff like that. However, he did say that he believes that if Robin had stayed in Whitney's life for like her whole life, he believes that Whitney would still be here. And I feel like that says a lot, so there you go.
Everyone, and I mean like everyone knew that Robin was a lesbian, but when it came to Whitney, it was not really a talked about thing because Whitney came from in the church and she came from a religious family. Also to keep in mind that at the time of her peak in her career, like when she first blew up, that was in like the mid 80s, and in the mid 80s you didn't hear about this. Like, people weren't out. It wasn't a thing. I'm gonna look so I can get the specific dates. Whitney passed away in 2012. Gay marriage was not even legalized yet, let alone accepted. So if she had like come out in the 80s, it would have gone really wrong, really bad. The only person that was really out at that time was really like RuPaul. But when it got like a little more popular, it was like Ellen, but that happened near to the 2000s. George Michael was in 1998. Ellen came out in 1997. So it wasn't like a common thing. And when asked about it, Whitney like was like, no. That's not me, sweetheart.
Whitney has repeatedly denied any rumors that she is gay.
I don't make it a habit of putting out in the street whom I'm sleeping with or who I'm with. My private life, that little piece of my life is mine. I want to keep that. You know, not that I'm sleeping with, you know, this one, that one, that one, this one. I think it's because they don't know. And because I do keep my life to myself. You can't establish a relationship in the eye of the public. They'll tear it apart. You know, even if you try. Just recently, I became friends with Randall Cunningham. Now they got us married. You know, I'm having Eddie's baby. You know, I've come from being a lesbian to a whore. You know, so I mean, I just think they just make you to break you.
So that's why I'm saying it's alleged, because I don't want to say it's positive when Whitney specifically said herself, and there's video proof of her saying herself that she's not, but it's like, why is everybody else saying you are? You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, romantic relationship or not, Robin and Whitney, that was truly her everything, and no one could really get Whitney to do the stuff that Robin could. So like if there was a scenario where they wanted Whitney to go to a certain show and she was like, I don't want to go, Robin could be like, you should go, and then Whitney would be like, okay, if you say so. Whitney's family, though they didn't like Robin in the slightest, they didn't want to cut her off because they had that leverage. Like they knew that Robin was like a little key to get Whitney to do whatever. Now when it came to Whitney's earlier career, it really was like a really big family affair. Her brother Gary was singing backup for her while her brother Michael was doing like some tour managing, I believe, and like running the tours and all that stuff, while Whitney's father John was like the manager overall. So like he took care of the finances, he did pretty much everything. And like I mentioned like way earlier in the video, Whitney was very family based, so she loved her family, she wanted to do everything with her family, keep them involved, and she did. Like everyone was always there. Sissy was always with her, you know, her mom. Her brothers Gary and Michael were there to kind of watch out for her, to keep her safe, and unfortunately that went a little bit south. That didn't quite work out, because they were the two that actually originally introduced her to drugs. It's very commonly missaid that Bobby Brown, which I also said earlier is like her husband, you'll hear about him, introduced her to them, and that was never a thing. She was doing them far before she even met Bobby, so I don't know why that's a very common thing. Whitney actually started doing drugs when she was 16. Just started off with like a little bit of like weed here and there. It wasn't like a big deal, but eventually as her brothers started getting their hands on the harder stuff, she wanted to try it because she was so close to them. She saw them doing it, she was like, I can do it, it's not gonna ruin my life. Pretty much because of the access they had, like they could get anything from anyone. Like it's Whitney Houston and you're her brother. One of them, I believe it was Michael, even said that he got drugs in Tokyo, I believe, or in Japan, which is like huge because drugs are an immediate no in Japan. They are like forbidden there. Like it's worse than the US. He said that he found them even there. So that just shows the access he had. If you can get drugs in Japan, you have access to get them anywhere. At this point, the drug use was heavy. Her brother actually said they were doing so much that it should have killed them a lot sooner than it did. I mean, her brothers rumors are still here. It should have definitely killed them, but it didn't. And he was just saying, like, you know, they would go laps around people, hard drug people, like taking so many drugs, like they would just go laps around them. They were like, you guys are doing light stuff, we're actually the big dogs here, which I don't really know if that's a flex, but I mean, he played it off as one. But regardless, at this point, Whitney was huge. I'm talking selling out stadiums, making every tabloid, just bigger than ever, thriving, queen level. You thought she was doing good before, she's doing even better now. I will forever be heartbroken that I didn't get to see her live in her prime, because it was really something to see. I love watching the clips of her live or her performing, because I'm like, I never got to see that. I'll never get to see that. She gone. But she was an incredible performer. She was sweet. She was so nice to her fans.
All right. Can you shoot? Yeah. All right, shoot. Go ahead. Shoot-a-doo, 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 shoot. Oh, I love you, Whitney. Oh, I love you back, darling. You pretty good shooter. I tell you, hey, oh, I'll come back here and hug you too, okay? I'll give you big hugs, big hugs. All the babies, I love all the children. Hey, how you doing? Hey, I love all the children. Hi, how are you? Hi, hi, hi. Oh, how nice. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, you may, yes, you may. Thank you so much. God bless you. Hi, hi.
People did often question kind of her drug use, but it was never really like it wasn't really a big thing. It wasn't really having an effect on her, you know what I mean? She seemed like she was still thriving. It was talked about, but not talked about enough to be in the limelight or like in the forefront. Another really big step in Whitney's career was when she performed at the Super Bowl, the 25th annual Super Bowl, which is insane because we're at like the 52nd or 53rd now. I watch the Super Bowl with my dad every year, so it's really insane to think that there was the 20s at one point, like what? But she performed at the Super Bowl, and if you don't know anything about Whitney Houston, you know that she sang the Star Spangled Banner, and you know that it was one of the best ever sang, 100%. Hearing that and seeing how she performed that made them proud to be Americans. That put her on the map even more. Like, you thought she was big. She just keeps getting bigger, y'all. Like, she's never gonna stop getting, well, she is, but right now she's still growing, and she still has another really big milestone to reach where she just continues to grow. Now we have entered a very lovely topic, which is the topic of Miss Whitney's marriage to Mr. Bobby Brown. Bobby Brown was introduced to Whitney at the 1988 Soul Train Awards because she kept bumping him. He was in front of her. This was a very odd mix to the entire world, and the reason being that Bobby Brown was a very vulgar and out there kind of like, he described himself as this, so I'm gonna describe him as this. He was like a hood rat. That's what he said. His words, not mine. He was just a very like not Whitney boy. Like, Whitney was so sophisticated and so quiet and just so sweet, and for her to jump out with Bobby Brown, who was like, I'm talking like humping girls on stage, you know, flipping off cameras, for the sophisticated little American princess to end up with him was really shocking to a lot of people. A lot of people think it was specifically because it's what Sissy didn't want. That was the type of guy that she would keep Nippy away from. I feel like when Whitney had the chance to get a guy like him, she kind of jumped at it. I think everyone's been through a little bad boy phase. I went through my bad boy phase. Never again, never again, never again. From the very beginning of the relationship, people were very negative about it, and this is gonna really show later in the relationship. People were constantly saying that they weren't gonna last, they were gonna be a terrible couple, and I think that that really weighed Whitney down from the very beginning because she didn't want that. Her parents, John and Sissy, had a very failed relationship, ended up getting a divorce, and Whitney wanted anything but that for herself. She really wanted to have that modern day fairy tale. She had very high hopes in having the perfect relationship. So she married Bobby. That was in 1992. Everyone that was there says that this was the happiest they had ever seen Whitney. She was really happy to start this new life with him and to start her fairy tale that she had wanted for so long. She was so happy that on their honeymoon, she got pregnant. They wasted no time. That is when she got pregnant with Miss Bobby Christina, which is Whitney and Bobby's son, Whitney and Bobby's daughter. Girl, get your mind in check. That is when she got pregnant with Miss Bobby Christina, who was just this adorable little girl. She was just very, very cute.
Now, do you like wearing dresses or do you like wearing pants?
I like wearing pants.
You like wearing pants a lot. Okay. Now, do you like going on the road with your mommy to hear her sing?
Yes.
You do. Do you say yes a lot?
Yes.
Do you talk a lot?
No.
You don't talk a lot?
No.
Do you talk on the phone?
Yes.
You do. Do you go to school?
Yes.
And what do you do there?
I just do a couple art.
A couple of art things. Yeah. I didn't know that you were this good talking in front of people. Did you know you were this good?
Yes.
You did.
I'm not saying too much about Bobby Christina until kind of like more near the end, but one thing to know is that Whitney did really love Bobby Christina very, 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 very much.
She's hiding from me. She's hiding. Are you hiding from mommy? Oh, come here, let me just hold you for a second. This is Whitney and Bobby's baby. She's shy. She's shy.
That was her entire world. She would not leave that little girl anywhere. She took her everywhere on tour with her. Like, you didn't see Whitney without seeing Bobby Christina. Whitney truly did, I believe, do everything that she could to be the best mother she could to Bobby Christina. But, you know, when there's outside forces and, you know, drugs and addiction involved, it's a little bit harder. But she really did love that little girl at the end of the day. Whether she particularly showed it or acted upon it in the best way, she did love her a lot. And Bobby Christina, just to not mix her up with Bobby Brown, I'm just gonna call her Chrissy, because that makes it a little easier than saying like Bobby Brown, Bobby Christina, Bobby Brown, Bobby. So I'm just gonna call her Chrissy. Whitney's last, I would say, like big hoorah was when she got into film. In 1992, Nippy starred in The Bodyguard with Kevin Costner. It was a lot more than just a love story. She also got that kind of interracial on film, on like the screen film time, if I said that right. On film screen time? On film screen time, yeah. They have this scene in the film where she runs down these like airport or airplane steps and she kisses Kevin Costner, and that was like really big. She had that moment. It just wasn't common to see like a black woman on screen have that with a white man. On top of that, I Will Always Love You was in that movie, and like, you know that song. I'm positive you know that song. If you don't know anything, if you don't even know who Whitney Houston is, you know I Will Always Love You. It's just a thing. That won so many awards that I'm not even gonna try to name them because it was just like endless. It felt like that did extremely, extremely well, both in theaters and then also with the soundtrack as well. And then Whitney also starred in my personal favorite, A Preacher's Wife, with Denzel Washington, which is like this cute little Christmas movie, and it is so freaking cute. It is just like, it's an adorable movie. And so she started in that as well, and like Denzel Washington is huge. She was working alongside him too. Her film career just like really, really helped. But it also caused a bit of a downside when it comes to her personal life and her marriage, because this is when things started getting a little rocky with Bobby Brown. And the reason is because Whitney was always really big, like really well known, but Bobby was very well known as well. But when it came to her working on her film career, she just blew up even more. And at this point, she was at icon status, not just celebrity status anymore, if that makes any sense. This was taking a really heavy toll on Bobby, and everyone could tell that he was just really jealous about it. It was just causing a strain on the relationship. But like I said, Whitney had that very much fairy tale kind of view, and so she wasn't gonna let this ruin it, you know what I mean? She was gonna keep going. So she started kind of trying to do stuff to kind of like try to make him feel better. She tried making him her manager for a little bit. Didn't really go too well, so that kind of ended. She tried doing some duets with him, things along the lines of that. Nothing really seemed to be working. Bobby was starting to go out of the way just to make bigger headlines than Whitney. It was just really, really bad, and it was putting him and Whitney both in a really negative light. Whitney really started to spiral after all of this, and she started stepping down a bit so that Bobby could have more of that limelight that he wanted, because at this point Bobby was more known as Whitney's plus one or Whitney's husband. Like, you didn't say Bobby Brown anymore, you just said Whitney Houston's husband. To go from, you know, where he was when I told you he was like this playboy hood rat type, to go to there like being under a woman, it really like was damaging him like very heavily, and it just, nothing was working out at this point. Like, it was really bad. Just to show like the steps that Whitney was taking to try to make Bobby feel more loved or more included, she actually originally, I believe, had her film company named like Houston Productions or something, but after everything happened with Bobby, she asked if they could change it to Brown House. In my opinion, I think this is when things really started going downhill. She still did some things, but this is just when it starts to like really teeter off and start to get kind of dark. This is also where it comes in when I said that a lot of people said it wasn't gonna last. This is when Whitney really felt like she had to prove that it would, because even though all of these headlines were coming out about Bobby, she was sticking beside him, and she didn't want to prove everyone right that it wouldn't last. I low-key can relate to this because obviously it wasn't as bad as this. My ex wasn't posting headlines, but with my first love, it was kind of like a scenario like that where it was like everyone was saying it wouldn't last and I was very unhappy. But I was like, you know what? I was like, I gotta prove people wrong. And like Whitney was doing the same thing, but obviously on a very different level. She just wanted to prove that she could do it and she could get through it, and she couldn't, unfortunately, but she wanted to. She tried. At this point, Whitney's appearance started changing a lot, and she is a beautiful, or was a beautiful woman, like very beautiful, just like so pretty, just so petite, every guy's dream, right? But her appearance started changing. She started looking just more kind of like ghostly and just skin and bones. Like she looked really bad, and everyone was noticing. They were like, what is going on with Whitney? And this is when the whole idea of drugs was coming up a little bit more. Whitney's family did know about the drug use, especially Sissy, but Sissy's reasoning for not trying to stop Whitney was because she didn't want Whitney mad at her, because she already pushed Whitney to do so much as a star. She just didn't want her daughter on like her bad side and to be mad at her.
I just want to elaborate on this a little bit, because what I was trying to say is that even though Sissy and Whitney had a pretty good relationship, there was always a little bit of a strain there, because when Whitney was younger, Sissy was never really home. She was traveling, because I told you she was such like a big gospel name, and she always pushed her so hard to get her like to where Whitney was, that the relationship was okay, but it wasn't like God tier, and Sissy just didn't want to put any more of a strain on it. So that's what I was trying to say.
Also, if you guys keep noticing I keep looking at the like viewfinder, it's because my camera's about to die and I don't want to lose this footage. Anyway, at this point, Whitney was in a way being kind of used a little bit, and we'll get a little more into that later. But there's one person that always had her best interest at heart, and that was Robin, because Robin stuck beside her through her marrying Bobby and everything. And you can imagine that if all the rumors and everything about Whitney and Robin are true, that had to hurt Robin really bad. But when you love someone, you want to do whatever is the best for them. She just wanted to see Whitney happy. But at this point, Robin and Bobby were not clicking. I'm talking like butting heads every day, and it was causing a lot of drama. Robin didn't like Bobby because she said that Bobby was not the best for Whitney, that Whitney deserved better. And Bobby didn't like Robin because he felt very threatened knowing how my Cammy died. If my camera dies again, I'm finishing this video tomorrow and just throwing this video back on. Anyway, Bobby was feeling very threatened by Robin after hearing all the rumors and everything about Robin and Whitney's past, and eventually Robin said, I can't put up with this anymore. She told Whitney it was an ultimatum, it's me or it's him, and Whitney was like, I'm gonna pick my man, and she picked her man. That was a bad choice. The reason being, like I said, truly Robin was one of the only people that had Whitney's best interest at heart anymore. So when this happened, things started going downhill. Money started disappearing. Everything was just shady. Like things just started getting really bad. I told you earlier that Whitney's father, John, was like over all of her management and over all of her finances and everything like that. But when it came to like kind of talking to the labels one-on-one and things like that, that was kind of more of a thing that Robin did, and she kept it very professional even when Whitney wasn't feeling professional. So after Robin was gone, Whitney started getting tossed around even more, basically just used as a human ATM. And this is when her father got busted for stealing money from her. Not sure if he was doing it the whole time. Feel like he was, but a lot of people think he was. But at this point he got busted for it, and Whitney was so shaken up and heartbroken. Like she was like, what? Like, huh? Because I told you guys, this woman was so close to her family. Like she loved her family, especially her father. She was a daddy's girl her whole life. So to find out that her own father was taking money from her hard-earned money, just like completely broke her heart. And she said, you're done. And she just kicked him off of his management position. And after that, her father's rebuttal was to, are you ready? You ready? You ready? Sue his daughter for $100 million. Father of the year right there. Like, huh? What? Y'all couldn't have just like talked it out? Given a couple hugs? No, he sued her for $100 million, which by the way, he ended up dying before he could get. That broke Whitney even more, because now not only had her father been stealing from her for years, but he also is suing her. I really cannot even imagine. Her label would spend millions and millions of dollars to travel all over the world, whether it was because Whitney said she needed to go to Miami for inspiration or something like that. They spent millions going all over for this, and there was a point where they were in Miami for 3 months and they only recorded 2 songs. The manager over the label at that point just said that it was just bad. Whitney would go into hotel rooms and just close doors, not come out for like 2 weeks straight. She would come come out, she would look worse. She would tell that she hadn't been eating. You could tell that she was just pretty much just drugged out of her mind. Like, it was just really sad because no one could really do anything, because honestly, when you're to that point, like, no one can really help you. Interventions can't help you, nothing like that. You can't force someone to go to rehab. They have to go if they want to go. So really nothing was gonna help her get out of this funk unless she wanted to get out of the funk. In 2001, Whitney performed at a concert for Michael Jackson, and this was probably the worst point of her career over everything that happened to her. She looked so bad. I truly think that Whitney and Zendaya are two of the most beautiful women that I've ever seen, if not the two most beautiful, besides like my mother, you know, that I've ever seen in my entire life. But this was, it was bad. She looked like a skeleton, skin and bones. Oh my gosh, it was just, everyone was like, what the heck is going on? Who is this woman in front of us? After this, her label felt like she had to do an interview to kind of like bounce back, and so this is when she did her interview with Diane Sawyer, which is probably one of her worst career choices, even though she didn't really have a choice. Like I said, her label kind of made her do it in a way, but she was talking about like how she was her own worst enemy, how like she was dealing with fighting like demons and the devil. Like, it was just really scary. Like, she had just lost it. This is also when unfortunately she said the whole line that crack is whack. People still are making fun of her to this day for that.
Crack rehab fails.
First of all, let's get one thing straight. Crack is cheap. I make too much money to ever smoke crack. Let's get that straight. We don't do crack. We don't do that. Crack is whack.
Is it alcohol? Is it marijuana? Is it cocaine? Is it pills?
It has been. At times.
All?
At times.
If you had to name the devil for you, the biggest devil among them?
That would be me.
It's really hard to watch, and I don't even think I've ever been able to watch the full interview without like pausing and stopping it or something, just because it's really just heartbreaking to see, you know, this bubbly little girl at the beginning of this video crumble to this. I don't think this interview should have ever happened. I don't think she should have ever even performed at the Michael Jackson concert. At this point, Whitney became a joke to the world. She was the butt of jokes on SNL. She had skits made about her and Bobby.
You want to smoke some crack? Ah! Oh, I love you. Get the crack!
Jimmy, Tina, when I told Diane Sawyer Whitney doesn't do crack, crack is cheap. Only poor people do crack. I didn't mean that in a hurtful way. Some of my best friends are poor people.
Like me.
That's right, baby. I would never do crack. I mean, you've seen our baby, Tina.
Yes, I have.
You have? Where is she?
Yeah, where you been keeping her at?
Oh, no, I meant I've seen her in the papers.
Oh, of course she's in the papers. She is the most famous baby in R&B!
I have a special anniversary surprise for you. Your favorite song, sung by America's sweetheart, Whitney Houston.
Come on, Daddy. I need my fix.
Remember the deal, Whitney. First you sing, then you get your precious cocaine.
How dare you? Do you think I would? No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity.
Happy anniversary, sweetheart.
Come on, Whitney, go get it.
She just had become a joke to the world. It was just so hard for her. That's why I said I think this was the lowest, because when you go from being America's pop princess to this is the lowest of the low. She just kept reverting to more drugs, more and more. It didn't get any better after this. It just got worse. Whitney was canceling tours, canceling shows. Everyone could tell this woman was not Whitney Houston.
Wake up! Wake up, Nippy! Nippy! Are you in there? Whitney calling Nippy, Whitney calling Nippy, Whitney calling Nippy. She won't answer. She's really non-cooperative today. So that when she's ready to go. Nippy calling Whitney. Yes. Hi. See, Nippy can call Whitney, but Whitney can't call Nippy.
In 2009, Bobby and Whitney finalized their divorce. It was a long time coming. It's honestly shocking they lasted this long. There was abuse on both sides. It was just really bad. It wasn't healthy for either of them anymore, so they got their divorce. This is when Whitney pretty much bottomed out. But after a little bit, she kind of spunked back up, kind of got herself back up because she wanted to do better for her daughter, Chrissy, and she went to rehab. She actually couldn't even finish the rehab program because she didn't have enough money to, because she was going broke. She had spent so much money on drugs that all of this money that really could have lasted her for the rest of her life was gone. She couldn't afford it. So in 2009, Whitney tried to do a comeback tour, and this was yet again really bad for her. Her voice was gone, she couldn't sing, and yet again she was just a butt of so many jokes. People literally walked out on her. She had just completely lost it. I think at that point she knew that her music career was over. There wasn't anything else that she could do. Like, it was done. At this point, Whitney was like, okay, my last ditch effort is to go back into film, because she knew there wasn't gonna be any more music made. She killed her voice. In 2011, at the age of 47, Whitney decided she wanted to film Sparkle, and Sparkle was a remake of a film that she loved when she was a little girl, and everyone was excited for her because it was like, okay, like Whitney's getting back on the map, doing her thing, and she was clean, so it was really good. To be in Sparkle, one of the things was that she had to take a drug test every week to be sure that she was sober, and in the first couple weeks it was really bad and she was just bloated and not happy. But after that, this woman started to brighten up, and everyone says that on set she was the old Whitney again. She was just beautiful, and I'll show you just a couple clips or pictures of how she looked. She was really just, she was gorgeous and she was radiant. It just made everyone really happy because this is the Whitney that everyone thought they had lost. She was coming back and she was just a really happy woman. She would just blast her gospel music in the morning on set and everyone would just love it. One thing that truly breaks my heart is that her bodyguard said that days and days after Sparkle was finished filming, Whitney would not leave. She just stayed on the set for days after when everyone else had flown out and everyone else was gone. They believe that she did this just because she was so happy there, and she knew that if she went back to her home in Georgia, she would just kind of shut down again, and unfortunately that is what happened. So on February 11th of 2012, a woman named Mary, who was like Whitney's second mother, ran her a bath. Whitney was just talking the morning before this bath about how she wanted to see Jesus and how she wanted to meet John the Baptist and how she had to get her S together because she had to see Jesus. Like, she wanted to make sure that she made it to heaven, and everyone was just kind of like, what? Like, girl, what are you talking about? Like, you're not going anywhere, or you know what I mean, you're doing better. Whitney got in this bath and she said to Mary that she really just wanted a sprinkled cupcake. She said that was all she wanted. She was just thinking about sprinkled cupcakes. She said, oh Mary, I want you to get me 2, but I'll probably only eat 1, but I just really want the sprinkled cupcake. Mary went. She was gone no longer than 30 minutes, and when she came back, Whitney was gone, laying face down in the bathtub, dead. So at the age of only 48 years old, Whitney Elizabeth Houston passed away on February 11th, 2012 at the Beverly Hills Hotel. Her stated reason of death was coronary artery disease, ruled by the medical examiner to be an accidental drowning with cocaine use as contributing factors. This is pretty much the end of Whitney's story, but I do have a few other things to say that are just really sad things that I just need to throw in because I mean they need to be known. Everyone thought that, and I'm reading them by the way, everyone thought that Whitney was doing better with her drug use as well as just striving to do better, and her own ex-husband Bobby Brown doesn't believe that Whitney simply died of drugs. He thinks that she died of a broken heart and just not being able to really do it anymore. She was known as a flop, she was known as a failure, she was known as the woman that lost it all to drugs. She was just really low. A forensic pathologist himself has stated that he doesn't believe Whitney's reason for death was a simple drowning. The water was at 93.5 degrees at the time of her falling in. He believes that Whitney was already dead or unconscious at the time of falling into the water. This will always be something that I think is shady, real shady about her death. And I do think there's a lot more to it. There's a lot we aren't being told, and I will forever think that. Literally the saddest thing that I can say. Chrissy, Whitney's only daughter, the absolute light of her life, passed away at the young age of 22 on January 31st of 2015, a couple weeks before the 3-year anniversary of her mother's death. Chrissy was found face down in a bathtub with drugs in her system, just like her mother. She was put on hospice for 6 months and then eventually taken off life support and passed away. It's just sad. Whitney was trying to do the best she could with Chrissy, but when you're raised in that environment, when you're raised with an addict, the chances of it happening to you are very likely, and that's what ended up happening, unfortunately. I like to think that Bobby, Christina, and Whitney are in heaven right now, just holding hands, singing songs to Jesus, and finally living the incredible life that they had always wanted. Bobby Christina is buried next to her mother. Jesus, God, I have to stop talking about this. I don't want to cry. Hey, my camera battery died again, and so instead of me resetting up my ring light, re-putting the batteries in my camera, recharging the batteries, I've decided that I'll do the outro here because everything has pretty much already been said. Rest in peace to Chrissy and to Nippy. I truly just wish that things had... Do I see a fire? There's like headlights shining on the window and it looked like a fire for a minute. I am so distracted. I'm going to end this video off with something that Kevin Costner, who I told you, Whitney starred in The Bodyguard with him. They were very, very close and he loved her so dearly. I just want to end with something that he said at her funeral. So off you go, Whitney, off you go, escorted by an army of angels to your heavenly Father. And when you sing before him, don't you worry, you'll be good enough. And if that is not the perfect way to end this video,
I do not know really what is. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for putting up with the lack of focus. I promise I am trying so hard to work that out. I'm just really bad with like learning how to use this camera and everything. I hope that in my next video that will not happen, because it honestly annoyed me while editing, so I know it has to annoy the people watching. Just to Whitney, hey girl, I hope I did you justice, because I love you and I hope I did this video well enough for you. Okay, hope everyone has a beautiful rest of their day. Mwah. I love you. Bye.